And we're back, folks. Back from our quick commercial break. I want to actually show you all now, moving on from the central idea, how to get started with the actual process and what the formatting looks like for an outline itself. Now, after you've written out the central idea, which is the main theme or lesson that you discovered, this is really where you'll get to craft central ideas, where you get to craft your response to the central question of the prompt, right? Which is for you to identify and think about, recall, reflect, analyze, and retell about a time in your life where you encountered a particular challenge that you had to overcome. Okay, so that prompt, there's also a question right at the end of it, right? How did you overcome it? Right, that question right there is what you want to respond to. Your response to that question is indeed going to formulate your thesis statement, or rather, excuse me, sorry, your central idea for the narrative, for the critical memoir. Okay, so that's what you want to write just underneath the outline, excuse me, just underneath the title. And you can just title it, label it, right, central idea, colon, and then boom, type it out. All right. Now, the next steps, it's important for us to actually understand that when we're talking about an outline, um, outlines help you to pull together the ideas and the results of basically what it is that you've mind mapped. Okay. Um, the main focus of your outline uh, starts with your central idea, right? And then it proceeds to detailing in a formal way, right, the order, sequence, and steps in which you arrived at the understanding of your central idea. All right. And how we do that is by organizing or dividing our what will later become our essay, but for now, what is our outline, into 5 different parts, right? Really, um, like 3 different parts as it pertains to the narrative itself. But in the course of my example here, because I have 5 techniques of the writing process, then I need to have 5 different parts, right? That's represented by the Roman numerals. I need to have 5 different parts of the writing process. Okay, so let's first and foremost start to go over just the structure of what it looks like to create an outline. So what you see here is really an ordered system of major ideas, or what we call like a major division of the topic, right? Topic being represented by the title. So we have the first major division of the title, second major division of the title, third major division, fourth major division, and then in this case here, right, the 5th major division. Okay, now for the next steps, we have not the Roman numerals, which is what's represented by our major divisions, but the next level of division is a sub-level underneath the major division, which is what we refer to as not only capital letters, but the first major subdivision. Okay, so under the major division, you have a minor or subdivision, right? Minor division or a subdivision. That's what's represented by the capital letters. Okay, a minor division or a subdivision. Okay, you see these all the time whenever you read through a textbook, or even magazines for that matter. A lot of popular subscriptions or popular publications have these as well. They're called subtitles. Okay. You will never need to you'll never need to include a subtitle in any of the papers that you'll be writing here in this class. They're not going to help you to better organize your thoughts and ideas in the final draft, but for the outline, they will certainly help you to organize your thoughts and ideas. So it's important to include them in the outline, not in the final draft. Okay, so these subdivisions are a reference to what exists or what components exist within the given major division. So in this case, for planning and shaping, there are three different kind of activities that comprise the first step in the writing process, otherwise known as planning and shaping, right? The first activity is called outlining, the second is free writing, the third is brainstorming. Now, we can go a level even deeper. Okay, after the subdivision, first, second, or third major subdivision, right? It totally depends on whether or not there are other categories or composites, other little elements that make up a subdivision that determine whether or not you go a layer even deeper, right? Or a layer lower to a lower level. Right? This is what we call the specific or supporting details. Okay, so the supporting details that support the specific details that support your first subdivision need to be outlined and marked, identified by what we call here another number. Right now, bonus points for anybody who can tell me the formal name of these numbers that we are probably so familiar with. We've been seeing these numbers here ever since many of us, were children. If these are Roman numerals, then what kind of numerals are these? You got it? 3, 2, 1. Arabic numerals. Arabic numerals, folks. These are Arabic numerals. Okay? For those of you who did not know, now you know, right? The Arabic numerals are different from the Roman numerals. Okay? Right? And one of the major differences between the two certainly is, their form of expression, how they are written. But if you're using Arabic numerals, right, then that signifies that you are 2 layers below the major division. Okay? It is incorrect for you to use Arabic numerals for the major divisions. It is incorrect for you to use Arabic numerals for the subdivisions or the minor divisions. Okay? It is very correct to use it as the third layer underneath, below the minor subdivisions. Okay? And those are what we refer to as specifically specific details or supporting details. Okay? The examples that you want to use underneath each subdivision category. Okay? So, I do want to kind of highlight just that structure and that format for you, because where you can go from here is, especially for the discussion board number 2, you have basically 3 Roman numerals that you're going to, that comprise your major divisions. And then you have each one of those questions which could formulate, which could actually signal each minor subdivision. Okay? And then within that, I want you to think about specific examples that help to illustrate or demonstrate your response to that, to those questions, right? What formulate your first major subdivision. Okay, so if we take a look here at the discussion board, right? So here you'll see you have the past, you have the present, you have the future, and that's Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 3, okay? And each one of these topics here you have the questions, right? You have questions and topics underneath the future, right? But each one of these topics here actually formulate the subdivision. So you'll have a subdivision under past for upbringing. You'll have another subdivision, so this will be capital letter A under Roman numeral 1, capital letter A, capital letter B, family, capital letter C, community, capital letter D, family educational history. Okay? And then you can think about specific examples that help you to summarize your upbringing, that help you to summarize the makeup or the composition of your family, that help you to summarize the makeup or composition of your community, so on and so forth, right? For each one of these minor subdivisions under here, okay? So hopefully that helps to actually demonstrate in a way that connects the bridge between the discussion board assignment and the outline format of an alphanumeric outline format for any given writing assignment. Okay, that's exactly what this is. So you would follow the same format for each one of the following major divisions, right? So now let's take it back up to the top and writing, outlining the writing process. So here, right, we have first major division, planning and shaping. Second major division is the drafting section, and here you have a minor division in which drafting signals, right, and is defined as beginning to build sentences and paragraphs. Now, for revision, or for the revising major division, revising is divided into two major categories: operations and levels. Okay, and so within the operations, the first subdivision, there are four specific activities, right, or four specific things that you need to do that comprise the operations, right? So operations is indeed it's an abstract noun that signals action. It doesn't necessarily while these aren't necessarily described in terms of verbs, I don't want that to necessarily confuse you, right? But operations kind of represents actions. And so what is it that you need to do, right? What are the actions that one takes when revising and trying to exercise the operations of revision? What are some of the things that you do in revision? Well, you add, you delete, you substitute, and you can reorder, right? There are four operations that comprise the first step of revising, right? Now, the second component of revising refers to the levels, right? So where do we perform these operations on, right? What parts of our writing do we perform these operations on? So that comprises the various levels of revision, right? Which refer to the word, sentence, paragraph, or phrases, and then the theme level. Okay, so when you're revising your writing assignments, especially when you're revising your outlines or your free writes, what you want to do is you want to kind of pull all of those sentences there together, and they don't necessarily have to make sense in the mapping or the during the planning and shaping phase, but when you draft, that's when you want to actually begin to make it make sense. That's when you want to begin writing the paragraphs, right, and forming the sentences into paragraphs, forming the paragraphs into the essay itself, right? And after that, that's when after you finish writing it all the way out, right, then you can go back and now begin to revise. You can look at or observe your paper across the various levels, the word, sentence, paragraph, and theme level, and you can decide what you need to add, delete, substitute, or reorder. Now, following that, the revision, you're going to edit and proofread, right? Really, to be honest with you, especially for professional writers, editing and proofreading it begins as early as the drafting phase, but it's very heavy during the revision phase. Okay, so step 3 in the writing process. You don't want to wait until the end of the paper. It works better it's kind of like, for anybody who may have actually cooked in your own kitchen, right, or seen somebody cook in your kitchen, it's like cleaning as you go as opposed to cleaning everything at the end. You're tired. You don't want to extend your time, right? So when you edit and proofread all along throughout the drafting, all the way through the revision and through editing and proofreading section, you want to revise for grammar, spelling, punctuation, and mechanics. And when you've done that, right, when you've completed your revision, that's when you're ready to submit your final draft. All right, folks. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me during office hours. Make an office hours appointment under the syllabus, and I hope to see you all soon. Peace.